in today's episode. Claude.ai/Apple Insider. And thanks to Claude by Anthropic for supporting the Apple Insider podcast as well as helping me out with the magazine. Well, a couple of obvious thoughts. One is I'm relieved, actually, that AI firms are looking for money. After all of the money they've spent on the books that they've ripped off over the years, the ripping they've done of the web, I've been concerned for them, particularly Perplexity, which is my...
ChatGPT is asking the United States government for some billions of dollars right now. So, I mean, that's where we are in the AI industry, if you didn't know.
Right, I didn't know that. I'm sure they want to do it to pay out to authors. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Won't in any way compensate for the actual damage, but there you go. And the other thing, of course, is you are so right about clickbait headlines and things. And just to be clear, the chapter work this week is by me, and this current chapter is going to be was Tim Cook on the grassy knoll? Okay, that's just where I'm going to go with this. Yeah,
I want you to edit Cook with the sniper rifle.
Okay, no, I feel that's going too far. We're a bit more subtle.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually starting to find genuine uses again for AI in general. I mean, I ignore all of the writing tool stuff that's worthless to me. But I'll tell you one example, just because it's us, right? I'm working on a project where I've been sent some really incredibly detailed tables or something that I have to put into a magazine for a charity. But the originals I've been sent, it's like a screen grab of something, a photograph from across the room. It's just unreadable and tiny. And I passed it into an AI agent and said, make me a HTML version. It did. All perfectly correct. And then I took a screenshot of its preview of that, and I've used it. So my alternative pre-AI would have been to type out 70 rows and 8 columns of data for something. So for all that I will diss AI every now and again, it's a fine thing. And when we're all through this, when the bubbles burst, that's what we'll be left with, I hope.
Well, so that's the thing, is it's a useful tool set when used properly. A hammer hammers nails, right? As long as you're using the tool for the job, it does do a good job. I very much actually enjoy a lot of these AI features that are coming, and we can't put the horses back in the barn as far as the grand theft of data and information from the web that has been done. So me saying this does not endorse that action, but again, we can't undo that. But what has resulted of that theft is a handful of tools that can do things that help us be better workers. It's improving certain things. It's making us able to focus on the work we care about and get us away from the things that we don't necessarily need to spend time on. So I don't think you're losing anything by not spending an hour building a table in HTML, right? You're not less of a person because of that. Versus, I don't think people should be replacing every aspect of their life with AI, including how to have conversations or romantic interests or how to create art. There's definitely a way to do too much AI, and people are still very much in that mode. But when this bubble does pop, what's going to be interesting is what's left will definitely be Apple, because they're not going anywhere. In reference to this whole thing, this whole debacle, we talk about Bloomberg and how they, their job as writers at Bloomberg is to, I'm saying this in the nicest way possible, but manipulate the stock market. Their job,
allegedly. They've just pop in the word allegedly.
That's not what I mean, right? Like, it's not. I'm not. Their job is to. They're there we go. They're incentivized to write in a way that will get them more accreditation if the stock moves based on their writing. Let's put it that way. Of course, yes, and that's true, and it's true. It's just true. That's just how they work. So of course they're going to go for more salacious headlines. Of course they're going to go for more drama. Every departure from Apple Intelligence Division is the end of. It's the death knell of Apple. They're never going to survive this. They've lost 13 people, I think, in the course of a year to Meta giving people $200 million apiece. I don't think it's that big a deal.
And then leaving. Yeah.
And then immediately leaving Meta that after they get their paycheck, yes.
I think there is an argument you could say that actually Bloomberg and places like it are practically duty bound to report things that would affect the stock markets. So there's a not even a grey line. There's a grey shade between them all. But
so Bloomberg, well, not to pick on them too much, but because I have a point here. But there's this thing called a Bloomberg terminal you can buy and put in your house. It costs an ungodly amount of money. I don't even know. Just don't worry about it. It's an insane amount of money, and it lets you get Bloomberg articles some amount of minutes before everyone else on Earth. So that way you can go and do a stock trade before it becomes public news. And the reason why that's important is because in the piece that we read, you can see on the moment it's published, because they already know this, the stock has moved ... upon the publication of this article, because since they published it to the Bloomberg terminal, people have already done trades because of that article, and now when it goes public, they can say the terminal has caused the stock to move this much, and you would have been able to make this much money had you had a Bloomberg terminal. So again, they are incentivized to not only move the stock, but because it's all part of it. So when we look at AI and how the industry has formed and been monetized over the past 4 years, it's all been about big names, big flashy moments, the end of humanity as we know it type stuff, leading to these giant stock moves, which is now, I think, the GDP of the United States, like some 20% is due to AI growth in the last year, which is very, very scary, because when that bubble pops, that's 20% that's going to disappear. Anyway, all that said, Apple is just, with Apple Intelligence, with its little writing tools that everyone says is the worst thing to ever be done on planet Earth, and it's just so sad, and Apple's behind, just said that they're going to have the best quarter ever in the history of the company next quarter, their holiday quarter, in spite of not having the most groundbreaking. Why is this, William? It's because they sell things that you can go buy and hold and use in your hand. It's real and tangible that people are desiring and want. Whereas this AI stuff, this grift that's falling off very quickly, is ephemeral, and it will soon become a feature instead of a headline. And I think Apple's going to end up on top on all of this. That's the most interesting thing about this story, is as this bubble's about to pop, whether it pops or not before April, before we get this new LLM-based Siri and all these new features, doesn't matter, because Apple already made their money on selling products. And they can step out on stage and say, hey, yeah, that bubble's popping and no one's investing anymore, but guess what? We don't need your investor money. We're just going to use the technology for what it's for, give the user something that they can use, improve their lives, and do so ethically with green energy. And we're going to own the entire AI ecosystem by having multiple AIs within private cloud compute. Like, it is an incredible strategy that it doesn't seem like anyone is really even talking about in that light, anyway.
To be fair, you have said a lot of that for at least the last year. I think so. You were the first person I knew that's kind of was. I mean, I was pro Apple because they've got things right before, and I like their approach. But you were more specific about it, and it does seem. I'm just fluttering you now. As time goes by, that your specificity was more right than most people.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Apple steps on stage and they put Sundar Pichai on a giant monitor above Tim Cook, 1984 style, and says, here he is saving Apple. Gemini is replacing everything on device that's Apple Intelligence, and everyone boos them or whatever and throws tomatoes on the stage. I don't know, but I think the more realistic answer is Apple's going to keep doing what it always does best, and that's have a vertically integrated ecosystem focused on privacy and security. And anyone telling you otherwise is just nonsense.
I think you're right, but obviously we'll have to see over the long term.
Yeah.
I keep saying that often when I'm talking to you, I'm going to admit that I'm asking you questions because I'm personally interested, which is possibly an abuse of the entire podcast system. But there are also aspects where I know you know so much more than me because I have had 35 minutes exposure to something and you've had more than a year. Yeah, I think you know what we're talking about here. Apple Vision Pro.
I know the puzzle app of Apple News.
All right, throw in Apple Card as well. Why not? Fine. Apple Vision Pro. You've written a new review about the new version, the M5, and where I am ecstatic about the M5 iPad Pro, I don't think you're quite as thrilled. So, what's going on with the Apple Vision Pro?
Okay, so I can see how you might think that because I am as excited and infatuated with the Apple Vision Pro as I have ever been. It's there's no exaggeration of every time I put it on, it still feels like magic. It doesn't, my brain doesn't process. It's like, I can't believe that this is something I can do with a computer right now. I'm placing these digital objects into the real world and viewing them in a way that is impossible with any other device. It is fascinating. And that holds true with the M5 Apple Vision Pro. The reason why the headline and the story might come off a little bit more negative is because as magnificent as this hardware is, as a 5 out of 5 for me, Mike argues with that because it's of the price, but then my argument is go look at how much a Mac cost in 1980. But in any case, this is a preview of what is to come. It is an expensive product because of the technology in use here. So while it is expensive, I'm not dinging it for the price. If you can't afford it, I'm sorry, that's terrible. I barely can afford it. So I understand, but it is one of those things that I'm not going to knock Apple on the fact that they chased something. Now, if it was $20,000, we'd be having a different conversation, but this is still less than a Pro Display XDR. This is still less than a Mac Pro. There's so many things Apple sells that are egregiously more expensive and honestly less useful, if I had to say. So, moving on. The review focuses on the single problem with the ecosystem, because what were the complaints when Apple Vision Pro came out? Price. All right. We're never going to get past that. Yeah. It's $3,500. Sorry. Wait, Apple more or less solved that with this. If you like the Solo Band, great, problem already solved. But I liked the Solo Knit, and I really like this dual knit band. I hate things on the top of my head, but the way this works and the surface area that it's using is excellent. We can talk about that in a second. So then what else? There's not enough to watch. There's not enough media. Well, that's increasingly less an issue. I know it's still, I've made the joke in the review, this isn't Lord of the Rings trilogy extended edition level of content, right? You don't need, but you can still lose an entire evening watching everything available in immersive video. And I actually have a second piece. Go ahead.
Right. I was thinking just the one evening. This has been, well, you said about complaints, that was the big price aside, that's right from the start. Your thing has been about a lack of content. And I know we keep talking about new things that come on, and mostly because that's rare, but it's now you're happy enough with what's there?
I'm getting there. So, because media is separate from apps, so we'll talk about apps in a second. So, as far as media goes, I have a second article discussing an event Apple held for developers and content producers. It's about 10 hours worth of YouTube video on the developer website for this, where they basically go into huge depth and detail on what is spatial computing, what is immersive video, and all of this stuff. And it was really fun. I didn't watch all of it, but it was really interesting tidbits here and there. They even talked about like how they planned and filmed Submerged and stuff like that. They discussed like how they positioned the camera for the rhinos walking by in the wild episode, which is incredible, because I mean they walk right past it and thankfully do not destroy the $33,000 camera.
Yes,
because they are rhinos. But so the whole thing is very interesting. But the takeaway that I took from that was, first of all, it's an auditorium full of people. The turnout was excellent. People are itching to make immersive video. The problem that Apple solved with this keynote event that I didn't even consider before, but should have been obvious. The reason why we've had so little immersive content, why Apple is the only one in the game, is because there's like one camera that can do it, right? You need a $33,000 at the time prototype, now released, Blackmagic camera with two 8K lenses capable of intensive software level calibration and vibrational motor changes that keep them completely in sync during filming. This is an incredible piece of hardware, and you need a bunch of them. Well, Apple has 2, and then they had 3, and then they had 5, and now there's enough on the market because it's rentable, it's sellable, that individual studios can actually get a hold of them. So you can now actually produce, as a studio, spatial content. That's only part 1 of 3. You also need a development pipeline, which did not exist, now exists, right? What's that Premiere DaVinci thing, right?
DaVinci Resolve. Yeah.
Yes, that supports immersive video editing. Now, there are multiple apps that do this. Apple's own ecosystem has evolved there, and the endpoint distribution now supports Apple immersive video. Vimeo supports immersive video, and Apple itself, and there's ways to get it done. Apple actually, during this 10-hour thing, discussed creating and hosting your own content and distributing it to users, and again, developers distributing this content through apps as well. So that ecosystem did not exist 6 months ago, let alone 2 years ago. So it is changing, and we are getting more and more immersive video, and now Apple's giving us basketball games, right, soon, Lakers courtside. And I think it's just going to evolve from there. So 2026, I think, is going to be the first year we actually see not just Apple, but third parties and a regular rollout schedule of media. So I am completely confident there, and I'm happy with what they're doing. So no complaints. So what is my singular issue with Apple Vision Pro? I think they checked every box that they can check today, except for developer relations.
Okay. They have relatives who are developers and they're not talking to them. Mm-hmm. We've all had things like that. Thanksgiving's coming, yes. Okay.
No, so Apple has a problem, and it's a problem we've known about since before Apple Vision Pro launched. When they announced this product nearly 4 years ago. No, 3 years. What is time? 23. Yeah. So they announced it nearly 3 years ago. The moment it was announced, the first thing I heard from developers was, "Who's going to build for this?" And then when we heard the price, they said, "Who's going to build for this?" Nobody is going to, very few people are going to own this device. So why do we care? And then we heard someone, I think it was Widget Smith, David Smith, right? And he said that he developed Widget Smith for Apple Vision Pro, and I think he made $40, right? This is one of the most popular apps on the App Store. I'm exaggerating in some direction. I don't know what. It could have been $400. Whatever it wasn't enough, right? The time it took for him to make the app and get it onto natively to Apple Vision Pro that in a way that worked and looked good, he didn't make any of his money back. He made 1 hour of his efforts and money back, right? And that is the case for most Vision Pro developers. Every minute they spend on an app for Apple Vision Pro is money they're setting on fire. And there is no clear solution to that. Apple needs to incentivize developers. I don't know if it's a payment program. I don't know if they just need to back up trucks. But there are not enough users. There are not enough users to justify building for this platform, though Apple needs apps to justify the platform's existence. It's a chicken and egg problem.
Sure.
But guess who has all the money?
Developers. No. Can I have one more guess?
So Apple
customers
is in a position of power.
Yeah.
Yes. To fix this.
Yeah.
And the only way to fix this is to spend a bunch of money. I don't think they need to buy anyone. Some people have said acquire studios. I don't think that's necessary. Just start backing up the truck to different places. Go to Meta. Say, what billions of dollars of money do you need from us to get your... Because Meta did this thing a couple of years ago where they bought like every studio. That's why there's no Meta games that are available on MetaQuest on Apple Vision Pro, because Meta owns all of them and they don't want to help Apple. Apple needs to go and say, look, what do we got to do, right? Without suing you, what do we got to do to get these games on our platform? Name a price, because I'm sure it's affordable. Apple has all the money. Go to the other studios. Hey, you made an excellent VR game. Go to Bethesda. Go to Capcom and get Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Get all the Resident Evil VRs. Get them working on your platform. Spend all the money you have to. Make people see what